In this last part of the video, I thought I would show you what happened when I carried on working on the Robin McKinley book, which, if you remember, was probably the worst of the 4 books that I worked on. And here is the final product. Sorry about the reflection from the light. I think you will agree it looks far better than it did before. I'll point out one thing. If you cover a large area, it will look matte. Going along the edges, a matte finish doesn't really show and isn't at all obvious. Again, another point, creases are never totally hidden, but I think you'll agree the one on the back cover is now far less obvious than it was before. So if I show you the 4 books now, I think you will agree they are look far better than they did when I started. Now with this one, I did try and hide the crease, and I think you can see it along through the top of the letters, and hide the white appearance. It's not perfect, but it is better than it was before. As you can see, for example, on the D there, the black has soaked into the yellow of the letter, so you have to be very, very careful when trying to work between letters. And that's not the only example, but I think overall it looks better than it did with the crease down the spine that was obvious. If you're working between letters, I would always say just dot. Don't try and draw the pen along the ink, so just go dot like that, and don't go right to the edge. Always leave a tiny gap between the edge of the colour and the pen, because the black colour will soak through the board that's underneath and will move towards the letter, so don't go right up to the edge. I hope you've enjoyed this and feel what I've done is worthwhile. These were 3 books that I didn't consider that important, so I was quite happy to experiment. So I'll just summarise all the main points if you're going to attempt this. Generally, I'd say if you're starting out, always experiment on some low value, good books, not valuable books. Black works very well, but I've found it very difficult with other colours, and I would generally advise do not try. I did once get a very good match for a dark red, but other than that, if there's any difference in shade, it becomes rather obvious and it doesn't look very nice. As I say, doing the edges is normally very easy. Just be very careful if you've got a straight edge. Treat it as carefully as you would do if you're trying to dot between letters. But if you've got a sort of patterned edge, you can probably get away and be fairly relaxed about doing it. Just a reminder, creases will never be totally hidden, if you remember that one, but I'll let you decide whether you think it looks better. I generally think it looks a little bit better, but you'll never properly hide them. And for example, here you can still see the creases on the spine. If you're doing edges, you might find as you work along, you'll create more flecks that will come away from the book. generally don't worry, that you can ink in the where the flecks were, and generally it will work well. And finally, remember, larger areas will have a matte appearance, so it won't look as good. But if you've got one very tiny fleck, normally the matte appearance won't be obvious, but for a larger area it will, like the one here. That is it for now. Tell me whether you agree with doing this sort of repair or improvement to a book in the comments. Thank you very much. Bye.